So in this video, I'm going to be talking about communication competence. And communication competence just means, are you getting it done? And so there's two broad parts of that. And they are both based on knowing your audience. No matter if you're getting up and doing public speaking or if it's just a one-on-one conversation with a coworker or a friend or a family member, you need to know your audience because everybody's got their little personal quirks, and even as a broad audience, audiences have tendencies. So know your audience. That's grounds one. So the two parts are: is the communication effective and is it appropriate? So if you got those two things going on, then it is competent communication. First off, effective. What are your goals for communication? Do you want to persuade someone to do something? Do you just want to inform them? Do you just want to create rapport? So those are some basic goals. What do you want to accomplish? And if you meet that goal, if you do inform and that was your goal, or if you do persuade your neighbor to pay half of the fence between you, or if you do want to get to know that person a little bit better that you've been interested in, then yes, you've met your goal. Second part, communication needs to be appropriate in order to be competent. So does it conform to the boundaries of propriety? So, for instance, I used to go from my job teaching at the college to teaching elementary schools at an after school daycare program. I didn't get to use the same language with the two of them, right? Because it wouldn't be appropriate to teach my 7-year-olds the same as I taught my 27-year-olds. So this is just one example of being appropriate in our communication. There's 5 other things that your book lists, and I kind of want to go into just really quickly. 1, be aware of yourself. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses when it comes to communications. For instance, my strength is empathy. I can put myself in someone else's shoes. My weakness, though, is I tend to have too much emotion when I speak, and I tend to get very flustered. So my solution for that, and which brings me to the second point, which is adaptability. How are you able to adapt to those things that you have now become self-aware of? My solution: I tend to write emails. I tend to write things down because then I can be more precise and I can be more careful. So you will find in my family, I tend to do a lot of arguing with my husband via email, just because I don't want to get over emotional and forget something that I was trying to say. So adaptability, the ability to go, it goes back to knowing your audience. If I know that you're not appreciating this line of argument, then I can switch tacks. The next thing, empathy, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You have not only do you need to know your audience, you need to be able to empathize with your audience and say, what would I appreciate if someone were talking to me right now? The fourth one is cognitive complexity. So I used to do this exercise with my students, and I would say, you find out that a guy steals bread. What are all the reasons why someone might steal bread? And got 8 or 9 different answers. So maybe they were just a criminal. Maybe they have kleptomania. Maybe they are hungry. Maybe their children are hungry. Maybe they did it on accident. Okay, so all of that, the ability to come up with that range of reasons is cognitive complexity. And then finally, ethics. It's really difficult in modern day America to talk about effective communication being ethical communication, because I see a big breakdown in the amount of public ethics in especially political speeches and political action. So in order to be an effective communicator, I don't care what actually gets accomplished. Is it appropriate, right? Is it ethical? Don't lie. You need to cite your sources. Don't manipulate your audience. Don't manipulate the data. Be open and upfront. Correct yourself when you are wrong. Those all go into being an ethical communicator. So, competent communication. It's effective and it's appropriate. And that's what we're striving for this whole semester, is to become competent communicators with your neighbor, with your boss, with your best friend, with your spouse, or with your children. And so you'll be seeing a lot more of me, probably from older videos mostly. But at the end of the day, at the end of the semester, I want you to be able to say with confidence that you are a competent communicator.